Welcome to Generally Speaking, the off-season edition. I'm your host, Angelo Fioris, also known as @NJ_Generals on Twitter, part of the USFL Today. Follow me and the @USFL Today account on Twitter for all the news, notes, and information about the USFL. No one covers the USFL like the USFL Today. I am very excited to bring on my next guest. He's an important part of the Generals' success in 2022, and he'll be an important part of their success in the future. He is the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach. I bring in Steve Smith. Coach, thanks for coming on Generally Speaking.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about it.
Thank you so much. And I'm excited about the Generals' fortunes for the future. We had a really great season in 2022. The offense clearly molded in your image in some ways based on your career stops and your history as a player and a coach. Before we get into all that, what was real quick one of your favorite moments of this past season?
The whole deal, actually. The way the team came together and you know, we lost that first game, and instead of falling by the wayside, we came together, revamped ourselves, and got us and went on an 9 game run actually, to get us to the playoffs. And the way the leaders of the team continue to unfold and be there and stand strong when we got in situations where we faced adversity. The way our coaching staff, which our leader, Coach Riley, and part of, our director, Billy Devaney, the way they stepped up and the rest of the coaches stepped up and came together as a family. And, when adversity hit, we didn't fall by the wayside. What we did was we looked adversity in the face and we continued to move forward and knew that we had an opportunity to be successful. And that's what we did.
And I'm sure you and the rest of the staff recognized that at some point during camp that you had a special bunch on your hands, even though maybe the prognosticators and the naysayers were saying the Generals were on the bottom side of the league before games kicked off.
Yeah, I mean, you think you always have an idea of what you have, but you never know until you actually get on that field. A guy could have been outstanding the year before in another league or whatever situation he was in, whether he's in the NFL in a camp or whatever, he could have been outstanding. But you just never know what you have until you actually put the pads on and get on the field and you watch the leadership and you watch their camaraderie together. But the way they gelled as a team, the way they came together and held each other accountable, that was the thing. That was the most beautiful thing, just watching them hold each other accountable and week in and week out go out there and push themselves and push each other and depend on each other as a brotherhood to make sure that we go out and win games and finish games. That was the most important. Finish the games and as we win them.
And it was that kind of season. The Generals managed to finish all the games. I mean, week one and then the final week were both tough last minute finishes. That happens in football, but that doesn't take away from what a great season it was. And truly what a great core that we have getting into the next season, which really leads me into something I wanted to bring up with you was we're seeing the Generals sign players since the season ended. I have a tally of seven new players now, 5 of them on the offensive side, but we're not seeing a whole lot of activity by any other team. Is that just your own decision as an organization to be aggressive in free agency versus some of the other schools? What other teams? What's the difference?
I really can't tell you. I just know that, like I said, that our head man, Coach Riley, wanted to go out and make our team better. So that's what we did. We got on the board and started looking at different players and how could we make our team better, along with our director, Billy Devaney. And, we just came together and started looking at players. So the ones that we felt that were good, we signed them. The ones that we felt were not where we need them to be right now, we put them on the side and say, hey, we'll see what's next and maybe down the line if they fit what we do. So right now we're just trying to sign the best players right now to enhance our team. I think we have a great core of players, even with guys coming back. We have a couple guys that are in the NFL, Turpin, Shepard, McGinn, who were very big keys. Neal, Bosby, they were very, and even Perez, they were very big keys in what we do. So, and our prayer is to hope that those guys, stay in the NFL, because that's what this is about. Them having an opportunity to get there and stay there. And hopefully that this season has showed them how to face that adversity so they can continue to stay in the NFL, just not get to the NFL. So, those are big key players that we have to replace. with them moving up to the NFL and giving opportunities. So that's the thing now. We're out here looking for players, and then there's a lot of players out here. There's a lot of players. So the opportunity to come out here and scout these players, and it's like recruiting to me. Actually, that's how I look at it. It's like college recruiting for me.
I was actually going to lead into that because it feels like it to me. Every one of the play, and I've spoken to a few of the new generals that have just signed over the last few weeks, and every one of them that I've spoken to, which I think 4 of them now, they've all mentioned your name as being a very important part of their decision, in the sense that you spoke with each of them directly and you had a vision for what you saw for them. And it was something that they felt strongly about and bought into and decided to join New Jersey. And so I'm seeing the connection of Coach Steve Smith being a big influence in just about every one of these offensive signings. But I'm also seeing another name, Coach Ken Rogers, who appears, you guys have a relationship, and helping young men grow is part of your mission together, isn't it?
Yeah, he's Kenny Rogers has been around for a long time. He played in the NFL. He played in the USFL for the Jacksonville team back in the days in the 80s. But the one thing about Kenny, I've been around Kenny since I was 18, 19 years old, and he helped develop my career. And people don't know this. Like, I had an opportunity to go to the combine in 2001. One of the coaches, Earl Mosley from Chicago Bears, that gave me an opportunity, told me if I got to the combine, he would get me in. Well, during that time, you struggle getting out of college, so you're struggling trying to find your way through. Kenny said, the story is kind of simple. Kenny said, "I'll pay for the gas, you drive," and he did that, and it was uphill from there. So I'm very appreciative that he took a young kid at that age in the 20s to, give him an opportunity to go. He was going there anyway. So, to help guys that he talked to, and be around the players that he had helped before. He's not an agent. So I want people to understand that he's not an agent. He's a guy who helped players get an opportunity. And when he continues to stay with those players, even after they move from college, if, like situations like this, and I'll call him and say, "Hey, you got a guy that you've taught, anybody that you're looking at to think that can help us," and he'll give me a name, and that's all he does. He just give me the name, and it's up. I go through the evaluation, and then that evaluation goes to Coach Riley and our director Billy, and once I evaluate and I say, "Hey, this player's capable," Coach Riley puts his stamp on it, Billy puts his stamp on it, and then now we move forward. So it's not just it's a whole process that you go through. It ain't just me saying, "Hey, yeah, this guy's good, let's take him." No, right. He has to go through Coach Riley, he has to go through Billy, and that process works for us, and it's working very well for us. And I think we've signed some pretty good players right now who can help us continue to elevate and get to that championship and finish.
And from what I've seen from the guys I've spoken to, really great character guys, really just nice young men with a goal, and they're humble and they want to just work hard. And I love that. Yeah. They all have that similarity.
Yeah, they're guys that are hungry. We've all been there. If you've been a football player who, your dream coming out of college, my dream coming out of college is to play in the NFL. And then when that dream doesn't happen, you get so close through your pro days and all that other stuff. And then when that dream doesn't happen, you still have that itch. You still have that one thing. So back then, it was the Arena League, NFL Europe, the World League, all those different things. But now with the USFL, you have an opportunity to go show NFL coaches that you are capable against guys who've been in the NFL, as well as guys who are that close from that one step further to make it to the next level. So it gives you everything that you need to prepare yourself. Like I said, and I'm a big believer in this, it gives you everything that you need to prepare yourself to stay in the NFL. So you go through the adversity of a real season. You go through taking care of your body through a real season. All those things that you really don't think about when you're coming out of college, when you have the opportunity to move to that next level. We lose the playbook. You get to learn a pro style playbook. You get to put yourself in position, time management, how you be able to handle yourself as a professional, as well as getting coaching from guys who've been there, who understand how to get there, who understands how to stay there. Because we've been there, we know what it takes, and we've been in those meetings. You sat in those rooms. Even when when I was an intern, that was the best thing that could happen to me as an NFL intern, because I got to sit in the room and I couldn't say nothing. And that's always the best time. When you can't say nothing in the room, that's when you start listening a lot more. But when you have an opinion, you can give an opinion in the room. You do less listening and more thinking about what you're finna say when that time comes about. So those are the things that I try to hand over to these young men, that our coaches try to handle, that our director try to handle, how to stay in NFL. And the USFL is giving them that opportunity to basically, it's like you going through it to get there. So it's like that pregame type deal. It's like a pregame to get yourself to the next level to where you need to go. But you do it through 12 games. If you're lucky enough to make it through, or blessed enough to make it to 12 games, but you definitely gonna get those 10 games to prepare yourself for where you're trying to go.
It's almost in a sense like a junior professional apprenticeship, but they're also getting paid for the experience too.
Exactly.
Because they're learning a lot of those things that don't get taught in school. And if they're not fortunate enough to latch on with a professional organization, you hit on stuff like that, like how to put in the proper study, how to put in the proper film work, how to manage your time, and how to just behave like a professional. A lot of kids don't have that background when they come out of school, either because of where they grew up or how they were raised or what their home situation was, or maybe poor coaching in high school or whatever that may have been. So, and I would say, Coach, that after season one, it's been a great success, what you just described. We had over 50 players from the USFL advance into the NFL camps. We still have 40 something still fighting for jobs now, and we're a couple of weeks away from September. So that says a lot for the job that you've done as a staff specifically, because I think 6 guys have moved on from the Generals and are in camp. And then also a lot says it just as much for the rest of the league and the way you've prepared these young guys.
Yeah, that's a combination. That's not just me. That's a combination of the staff. That's a combination of the administration, the USFL administration, Daryl Johnston, Brian Woods, Jim Pop, Doug, all those guys, Trey. So it's a variation of a lot of guys putting themselves in position to help these young men on different levels. As coaches, we help them to help them prepare for the game. We help them prepare for certain things off the field. But there are going to be certain things they got to learn administratively that Daryl Johnston teaches them, or Brian Woods teaches them. There are going to be things that they have to learn from, the trainer, how to prepare your body, the strength and conditioning guys, those different things, how to watch film, all those different things that you just named. There is a guy or a position that's going to help them, teach them if they're willing to learn. The biggest key is being willing to learn. And I think that's where we get confused. Every step when you're working to get to the NFL, you don't learn in college. But when you get there, very few of us are lucky enough or blessed enough to stay for a long haul, right? But there are some of us that got to go back and learn something else to help us stay. And I think that's what the USFL does. Whatever it is that you didn't learn before you got there that got you cut, that's what you need to learn now, whether it's you not putting yourself in the right position to study the playbook the right way. If it's you not getting to, you were late to practice because you're used to being late to practice because you were the man in college. But it also redefines who you are as a man as well, because if you were the man in college does not necessarily mean you're going to be the man when you get to the next level. So it redefines you and puts that hunger back into you. And I think that's what these players have. And that's the thing that I talk to them about once we talk on the phone and we on the phone. That feeling that you have when I called you and said, welcome to the Generals. I had a young man cry yesterday. He was so excited. He was crying. Wow. I told him, I said, hold that feeling, because that feeling right there will get you through and make sure you continue to work when you decide that you don't want to work. It'll make you study when you decide that you're not feeling like studying. All those things. You don't want to lift the weights and you don't want to do the things that continue to get you there. See, we get complacent, and complacency is not dominance. So in order for us to stay dominant, we got to hold that chip on our shoulder. I keep my chip on my shoulder. I knew how I grew up, but my dad taught me not to quit. But my mom taught me how to fight adversity, because she kept going through different steps and different things. And I saw her keep growing and getting better and overcoming that adversity when things were tight and finances were tough. So you learn that, and you have to teach it to your children. So that's the one thing that you have to give to these players. Adversity is always going to slap you in the face, but can you be slapped and continue to keep going? Or can you see adversity coming and be able to run through adversity and continue to move forward? Because that's what champions do.
Right.
It's always going to be a tough time, and that's what champions do. And I think that's what we did as the Generals this year. That's what Birmingham did, and Philly did the same thing, and New Orleans did the same thing. So it's a collective of all of us together as a organization, the USFL, who did that. Even the USFL and administration. It was not easy to do something that hadn't been done in years and years and years. I was in the XFL. I've been in NFL Europe. I've been in the Arena League. So I understand that the adversity, and I love it because Coach Riley used to use the term AAF: adapt, adjust, flexible, and that's what you have to be. You have to be that. And I learned that, when I was coaching in college. So there are going to be things that's not going to be, if you've been in the NFL all this time, that's not going to be like the NFL. So you got to adapt to that because you're not the NFL and you're not trying to be in the NFL. What you're trying to do is be your own entity. And there are going to be things that you have to adjust to make right, to make your entity grow. And that's what you're doing. You're going to have to go through those growing pains first before you get to the settle. We want this to last for years and years and years. And young men from years and years on can see that they have another opportunity besides the NFL that can help them get to the NFL as well.
And you described AAF, which really translates to beyond football and into everything else that we're doing in life also. That's not just a football context alone. And that's the other great thing, is that those lessons do translate to everything else that we do when these guys take the step to their next careers, their next endeavors, and everything else that they're going to do beyond football, even if it is in football as a coach or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Life is, football taught me life too. Yeah, that's one thing I will say. Growing up in this business and growing up in this sport, it taught me life too. It taught me time management. It taught me how to drive. It taught me how to push for something that I want and be relentless at it. I am relentless when I want something. If I want a champ, I'm relentless. I'm on my guys. I stand on their neck, but I let them know in the door. It's not because I'm trying to be a bad coach or trying to be a hard coach. Is because I do not want you to let up. The one thing we do when we're having success, the first thing we do is we sit back and we breathe. Okay, it's not time to breathe. You breathe at the end of the season once you raise that trophy. The one thing I paid attention to this year, and that was important for me to understand, and that was just me personally, what I'm saying for me personally, is I watched Birmingham lift that trophy. I watched the confetti fall on Birmingham. I watched the United Football League, the USFL show, and I watched both teams get fitted for rings because I wanted to feel that. I wanted to know what we did not accomplish that would set the goal for what we need to get done next year. To me, we had a great year, but it wasn't the goal. We did not achieve the ultimate goal, which is to win the championship. So it was great, but in a sense, it was not great, because you didn't accomplish what you set out to accomplish. And so you have to feel that. And I'm one of those type of guys that when, one of the type of coaches, when I want to watch all of it because I want to see where I'm going. I want to see what I want to get done, and that for me it's a learning experience, because when they tell you can achieve it, it's in your grasp when you that close. So we were that close. So I know it's capable. So, that's a big thing for me. And that's the one thing for me right now is just getting out on this scouting road to find out where can we get the best players to help us achieve that goal. And that's what we're doing right now.
You're like a college recruiter.
Yeah, definitely. that's definitely what it feels like every day.
Hey,
I swear my phone, I swear, I tell guys, I swear, I think my phone number has been passed around. It's like it's on a bathroom wall and people just look at it and say, hey, Coach Smith, let me call it. I've got so many calls from so many players, but to me, I've experienced every side of the good and the bad of this sport, right? And one of the biggest things that I took away was when you're looking for a job and you call coaches for a job and you're trying to get them to talk to you and they don't respond. They don't answer your text. They don't answer your phone call. I always said to myself, if I'm in that position to be able to help someone or even just talk to them, some of these guys, there are guys who I've talked to who did not make the cut for us to sign them, right? And what I did was explain to them why. So this is something that you need to go back and work on to make the cut, So I want to explain to them that part, and I'm going to answer the phone for anybody who calls me. So regardless of whether we sign you or whether we don't sign you, I'm still going to answer the phone because I know what it feels like to want something so bad, and nobody wants to answer the phone when it's time when you're trying to get it. So I've been there, and so I take that experience and I apply it to what's going on now because I've been there.
I understand that feeling as a leader. Many times we use our past experiences and where we felt we were wronged in a way as a way to shape how we lead in the future and learn what not to do and try to correct those kinds of things. So I appreciate you saying that kind of thing in as far as your approach to dealing with these young guys and these players. So let's talk about the players real quick. I know we're running short on time here, but I want to throw the names of these players at you. And I just want like a 1-word reaction so we don't have to get too deep into it, right? But they're new guys. You talked to them, you scouted them, you liked them, you brought them aboard. So let me get your initial impressions. Let's start with Hassan Muhammad Rogers.
Hassan is a true athlete. He's athletic. He can play both sides of the ball. We're going to start him out on defense first. He did a great job for me in college when I was the head coach at Lincoln. And he's a kid who just continues to defy even more than what he, because the one thing about Hassan was different is his environment is not successful for him, but he continues to overlook that and overcome that environment to succeed every day. And I know exactly what his environment is because I grew up in that environment. Right. So I'm very proud of him, who he has become and where he is and the work ethic that he's put in. And what he's doing also is that he mentors these young men. So he's giving these young men hopes and options by them watching him become who he is. And, I'm pulling for him. I really am. I'm pulling for him because I know where he comes from and what he's had to deal with. And I think he's a great young man who will be successful for us.
And he works really hard too. You can see it, you can hear it in his voice, and he loves to work. How about Anthony Turner? Big Anthony Turner.
Yeah, Anthony, man, he's a. When I talked to Anthony, it was like when you watch the film on you like Grandview University. Yeah. And he had opportunity. He went to Green Bay and was in Green Bay for a while. Got released, and when you turn the film on, he's a big body. He goes up and get the ball, and you just kept looking at him like, wow. This kid is different, and so I think he's going to be a great addition to what we do, and I think he's going to be a guy that you definitely going to watch during training camp to see where he is, and hopefully that he does what he needs to do to make the team.
He's low key when you talk to him, but he's not like that on the field.
No, not at all.
All right, so now we've got 3 big offensive linemen. JT, Jonathan Timmons, great guy. I had a nice conversation with him.
Yeah, very physical kid. I love his physicality. I love how he locks guys down at the line of scrimmage. But the one thing that really stood out to me is the way he runs when in that run game. He comes off that ball and he's trying to destroy you. So what he brings to the table is what I'm looking for because I love to run that ball. So and he has that attribute that he has the tangibles that I think that I can mold and continue to get him better. And he has a very high upside.
He told me all of that, what you just said. That's great. And how about Bruce Trigg, another big O lineman? You rescued
Bruce.
him from Major League Football.
Man, Bruce, the one thing I told Bruce when I said the one thing you're going to think this crazy when I tell you, I said, man, you over aggressive. I said, every time you come off the ball, you're trying to put a guy on the ground. I said, let that be the natural form of you coming off the ball and having control aggression. But he's another one. Big, physical, comes off the ball, trying to destroy a guy every time he comes off the ball when he gets his hands on him. Does a great job in pass protection. But again, his run game, the one thing that stood out is when he come off that ball in the run game, he's gonna let you know he's there. So definitely love what he's doing and what he's gonna bring to the table. And I'm excited to see those guys work.
And I'm going to love to see how you refine him and reel in some of that aggressiveness and to keep him a little more controlled. That's going to be great. And a guy I don't know a lot about because I haven't had a chance to research him, Jameer Johnson. Tell me about Jameer.
Jameer Johnson is a physical being. He is exactly what the other two are. He comes off the ball in the run game very, very strong, and he's trying to to maul you. I am very surprised that he is not in the NFL, but I promise you, after this USFL year, he will be in the NFL. He has great feet. He can run. He's strong. He can play both tackle and guard. He's played both in college at Texas A&M and at Tennessee. His upside is very, very high. He has good, strong hands when he puts his hands on you. Like I said, I'm excited about those guys and what they can do. And, they're so physical. Their aggression they're so physical. And that's the one thing that is so hard to teach. So when a guy has it, you can mold everything else. And now you can build that guy that you want and be as dominant as he wants to be.
So clearly the Generals are going to stick with their formula of being a run-first team next year. But with the addition of wide receiver Anthony Turner and the departure of Luis Perez, you did bring in another quarterback too, Daquan Neal, a star in the indoor football league. Tell us about what you liked about him.
Young guy, very, very solid. The one thing I love about him, I coached in the Ring League back when it was all on ESPN and NBC and all those different things. And you never saw zone read in the Ring League the year,
right.
the 2 years that I was there. And it was crazy that I'm watching this young man run zone read with the 25-yard field, and he's making guys miss on zone read. But the other thing is the precision of how precise he has to be when he throws the ball in the ring. That's the one thing you love there. People talked about it with Kurt Warner, how you have to place that ball and how you got to have a quick release. And he has a very strong arm, but the touches that he put on the ball to put it where it needs to be for those guys in that small field to be able to catch that ball and go get it. I think it'll transfer over into the 11-man game on the wide field, because he understands he has to get the ball out of his hands. Excuse me. If he gets in trouble, he's looking to throw first, and then he's very mobile where he can use his feet and take off and go get you whatever you need to get to extend the play. So all those tangibles he has, that makes him a very viable young man. And I'm interested to see once he gets in training camp how he's going to unfold. And like I said, his ceiling is very high as well.
We're going to have a very competitive camp at quite a few positions. I mean, wide receiver, we're already loaded, even with the departure of Cavante Turpin. 3 new offensive linemen fighting with the remaining offensive linemen for spots, and now a new QB to compete with DeAndre Johnson, assuming Luis Perez sticks in the NFL. Coach, I really appreciate you giving me the rundown on some of these new players and helping the listeners start to get familiar with each of them. And I really do appreciate your time today. I look forward to when's OTAs. Any idea when that's happening?
Right now, everything's up in the air. They're talking about a couple things, and so we're just waiting to find out as the league continues to progress and let us know what's the next step. So I'm hoping soon they'll be able to release something to let you guys know what's happening next and what's going on before the season happens.
Coach, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Offensive coordinator of the New Jersey Generals, Coach Steve Smith, joining us on Generally Speaking. Don't go away. We will be right back. Welcome back to Generally Speaking, the off-season edition. I am your host, Angelo Fioris, also known as @NJ_Generals. What a great interview with Coach Steve Smith, the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach of the New Jersey Generals. He was really gracious in spending all that time with us and sharing his insights about the team, about the league, and about all of these new young guns that he's bringing in to help fill the Generals offense. Also, something that stood out to me, of course, is that while it has seemed that the Generals are the only team active in free agency, it's open to everybody. The rest of the teams are just not doing anything. Interesting. Thanks for listening. Join me again next week. I'll have another great guest. This is Generally Speaking. So long.